get knocked down, but you gotta get up, keep going.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Sovereign CEO podcast. I have with me today Alison Ritchie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So I was just scrolling on social media one day and I was watching a video about the Natural Health Protections Act and there you popped up. And I was listening to you talk about herbalism and what was happening in your industry. That's how I met you. So I wanted to have a conversation today about um, different ways of treating people, natural medicine, the work that you do, and some things that my listeners may or may not know about. For people that don't know you, tell us just a little bit about your profession.
Sure, yeah. I am a birth keeper. I've been attending births for 16 years, almost 17 years. I'm an herbalist, specializing in women's health. I'm a homesteader. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a truth teller and a woman just really passionate about our food system, how we're building the next generation, how we're looking after mothers, and really just trying to highlight some of the, not necessarily the problems, but maybe more so the way forward and the way out of the mess, which truly is generations deep into all sorts of problems just because of the way the food system has been going and yeah, and just depletion. So in a nutshell, that's my business. I counsel women one-on-one. I run an online program. I'm still attending births to this day. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Mm. So on the show, we talk about business, politics, the Great Awakening, and my listeners hear me talk all the time about having work that is purposeful, work that you actually love. Like the work that you do, it sounds like you're deeply embodying the things that you teach. How did you get started? Like why did you choose this route to be in birth and herbalism? What made you take this road?
I think it chose me as much as I chose it. I actually had a very traumatic birth with my son, and that served as the catalyst to my own personal great awakening, and I don't feel like I'm a victim to it. I'm actually very grateful for the experience because I really feel like it was that experience that gave me the eyes to see when 2020 came around, just kind of, I know that playbook, like I know what they're doing. Um,
Mm,
and so, I guess as a way to partly heal my own trauma from that birth, but also this real passion was ignited in me to like help women never go down that path. When that happened to me, I was like, what? Like, what is happening in birth? This is crazy.
can I ask, like, and feel free to omit any details, but like, what kind of things made that birth traumatic?
Well, without going into too much detail, it's the slippery slope of like we're just gonna do this. We're just
Intervention.
gonna do this. We're just
Mm,
gonna do this. And it's just this cascade of interventions that end up being we're gonna have to intervene in this way. And my son was taken away from me at birth and just a lot of bullshit that is so detrimental to the health of our children, and like my health as a mother. Like I had PTSD for 6 weeks after he was born, at least. I mean, and that was the 6 weeks was just like it was at the 6 week mark where I finally felt like I wasn't frozen and I was actually able to like connect with my son. And
mm,
when I actually like came to and realized what had happened, I
yeah.
was pissed. It was that sacred anger, that sacred rage of like, this is not okay. And it was some sick kind of ritualistic abuse. And I'm not saying there isn't good people that work within that system, because there absolutely are. But
Mm-hmm.
the system that the allopathic system of birth is designed to break women. And that's just
Mm,
a fact. And when you can break a mother, you've essentially broken that family. And I'm not saying you can't rebuild that family or it's not, you can't heal it. You absolutely can. But this is square one of where I think the revolution starts, because we need mothers, we need babies landing in the arms of mothers who are strong and resilient and courageous, because women, in that whole spiritual rite of passage, I mean, they tap into parts of themselves that they didn't know existed. They dial into that mother bear energy. And
Yeah.
if that is like taken away from them for whatever reason, for your safety, that whole playbook,
Yeah.
then it's like the whole process is undermined in some way and hijacked.
Mm.
And
You
and
are really going through like a rebirth yourself, going through that. Like with both my girls, I remember after not being able to talk to people, like not being able to leave the home, and like the first time I'd like go to the grocery store and someone would dare try and talk to me, like right after I
yeah,
had a baby,
yeah.
there was this weird separation of like me and them. I felt very weird about talking to them, and I was reflecting on that, and I was like, oh, it's because you died. It's because you died and you like came back to life. And that's why the world is so weird. Like you're a totally different person. That's the only way I could sum up that experience after. I'm like, yeah, why can't I be in the world anymore or talk to people? And that was a temporary stage, but it is a powerful event.
It's a powerful initiation, and it needs to be treated as such.
Mm,
And, in the allopathic system, um, it's just a medical event a lot of the time. Like I've attended births when I first started attending births after the birth of my son, because I was like, I need to see what is happening and like put me in. I need to try and figure this out. That's just the kind of person I am. And I realized that this was not unique to me. This
mm,
trauma that I was experiencing was like, this was happening to all sorts of mothers, like everywhere, regardless of your race and of your religion, whatever your beliefs. It was like, it was horrible. And anyways, yeah, it is a rebirth on many levels. And I hope in my work to kind of bring back that initiation and that rite of passage, because we do find ourselves in a new territory that is unfamiliar to us, and we don't necessarily know how to navigate it, especially if we've been doped up in the birthing process.
mm, mm-hmm.
And they say you don't get a blueprint or a handbook on how to raise your children. And I think you do. I think it's downloaded into you probably from the second that you conceive. And there's a slow drip of hormones that gives you the guide and the way. If we can just like trust that intuition. But, we've been so conditioned and programmed to like, well, I can't really trust that gut feeling, or I can't really
Mm,
do this, and this, like to outsource things all the time, when it's like, actually, that's the North Star, man. You can
yeah.
absolutely trust your intuition. You can absolutely trust what your body is telling you. And the more women
Mm,
that, and this is kind of what I teach, is like through food and through herbal medicine, is like when we are a clear vessel and we are like eating the foods and taking in the herbs that have sustained humans since time immemorial, we are a clear channel. And that stuff comes to us easy, and it's available to us very easily. And that makes us dangerous, especially as women who are designed to protect at all costs our youth,
mm.
And so let's break that woman right from the start.
That's an incredible point. Yeah, I mean the healthier you are, the more meticulous you are about what goes in and out of your body, just the more clear you are. Most human beings are walking around like zombies.
Yeah,
Coffee all day long, wine all night, TV and screens. They don't know what they're thinking, feeling, intuiting. They're completely disconnected from that.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, so that was kind of how I got into it, but we moved outside of the city. My family moved outside. I'm just north of Winnipeg, 12, almost, yeah, 12 years ago now, and onto 2.5 acres. And the people that had lived here before us had a beautiful garden, and I felt like I hit the jackpot and kind of inherited this space, where I was able to start growing fruit trees and start learning about herbs and food and being in right relationship with the land and
Yeah.
collecting rainwater to sustain ourselves. And this was like way before it is now, where I feel like everybody's kind of talking about it more.
Yeah.
But it just gave me so much healing for my nervous system. I'm a highly sensitive woman, so like being in the garden just was like a balm for not only my nerves, but for my soul. And I was able to really shed a lot of tears there. And I found real healing with plants, and not just even by ingesting them, but just by being with them and co-regulating with them and co-regulating, piggybacking on the frequency of nature and of God and the truth, and not
Mm-hmm.
just like this person's truth or that, like the truth of
Mm-hmm.
like what this is and what this energy is. And so yeah, I from there I feel like I've just kind of became a conduit to help get the medicine out to people. It was the thing that actually helped me rebuild myself back after having my daughter. I went into crazy adrenal fatigue. My hair was falling out. I had all sorts of metabolic problems. I was borderline diabetic, and just freaking burnt out like the majority of mothers these days that are
Mm-hmm.
trying to do everything and martyring themselves. And it was in my journey of traditional foods
Mm-hmm.
and herbal medicine and actually becoming fluent on, the toxins that are in this world. I started teaching workshops around that. I started incorporating it into my business. And it was actually like when I incorporated those healing arts into birth work, that's where it just like it expanded into like this whole new beautiful level.
Mm.
And I could see like I'm sure it's not something that you could ever measure on a blood lab or anything like that, but the women that I was working with, I could feel and I could see the energy behind them, and like this life force was going into them, and they were strong and resilient mothers. And part of what I feel, and this is actually statistically proven, but when women have this continuity of care, like from preconception or at least from pregnancy, and you walk with women through that whole childbearing year, through pregnancy, through labor, through birth, and right into the postpartum, the outcomes of mothers are significantly better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested in soul level, deep diving relationships. Like the women that I've worked with, like they're all friends of mine now, you know.
Bet.
And it's not just about going and giving a couple hip squeezes, when a woman's in
Yeah.
labor, and joining them there. Not that there isn't a time and a place for that. That's all well and great, but the
Yeah.
true healing arts and the true root of midwifery care and wise woman care
Mm.
has all of these different dimensions to it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
What
how I got into it.
what was your gateway herb? What was the first one?
Oh, probably nettle, honestly.
Yeah.
We have a cabin out in the White Shell, and I remember reading about it in a book, and I came across it in the wild, and I swear it was like I was starstruck. I was like, it's like meeting Mick Jagger or something. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, there it is. And just because this is what I call a bridge building herb, one that you can take like, your children can take it. It's safe for the whole
Yeah.
family, but women can take it all the way through their pregnancy, right through to the postpartum. And it is so full of life force and energy. Um, and so I remember reading that and actually experiencing that myself and being like, this is amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling almost like, I don't want to say an altered state, but you could feel it working. I could feel it working within
Yeah.
me and building me, and building my reserves and making me stronger, and replenishing some of the stores that I had lost. So,
There's something so special about, of course, foraging it. Like when I take a tomato off my little cherry tomato and I pop it immediately in my mouth, just knowing that the like nutrient content is so much higher. Or here we have chaga. So chaga was the first thing that I found, and I was like, this will help with cancer, and I could just find it on a tree and like make it into a tea. Like it is such a empowering feeling. I actually didn't know that you were so close to me. I'm out in Kenora. I'll have to come and visit this farm here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm north of Winnipeg, but our
Mm,
cabin is out, yeah, just on the Ontario-Manitoba border. So we're
very cool.
practically neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's neat that you're bringing back like these traditional practices, like traditional midwifery. So I feel like even like midwifery, it's starting to get watered down. So we have midwives in Kenora that they work in the hospital. They
Mhm.
seem more like nurses, and you know, before 2020, I thought they were wonderful. I did. I got a lot of care and I did get a lot of attention and I did get a lot of appointments. Um, but more and more they are being immersed like in the medical system. And they're both wonderful people. I'm not saying anything bad about them. The first one was a nurse practitioner for 20 years before she turned into a midwife. And I can appreciate like that blend of natural and like being in the allopathic medicine realm. And then the other one had actually convinced a lot of us, funny enough, not to stick with the traditional vaccine schedule and like kind of put it in our head that maybe it was too much, that you could delay it. Well, when 2020 rolled around, guess who was hardcore on making sure every single mom, baby got this thing? Vilified me for the work that I was doing. And I just thought, isn't that interesting? Is it because you actually believe this now, or is it just the pressure because you're going to lose your job? I think there's a lot of people that caved under that pressure.
Totally. And they call them medwives,
Yeah.
in the sense that like they have to adhere to a certain protocol. They have their boxes that needs to be checked, and they are not a part of the true original birth arts, and I know some amazing midwives, and like you say, I'm not like trying to throw everyone under the rug. There are some like
Mhm.
amazing women that are working in this field, but a lot of them, women go in or they get a midwife and they think that they're getting like a different kind of care, because they're the title of midwife. It's not an obstetrician, but like it's sometimes it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, they're still giving
And
drugs
oh
and
yeah.
doing all the things. Yeah.
Oh, and in fact, like I'll be honest in saying some of the most horrific things I have seen happen have happened in the care of midwives,
Mm.
and so it's again really why I feel strongly about radical responsibility and taking more and more responsibility for yourself as
Yeah.
a woman who wants to create a strong family and a strong foundation. That's up to us
Hmm.
individually, and
Yeah.
so the further we got away from food, the further we got away from health. And this is why I feel like the food and birth are intrinsically connected, because they go hand in hand. Obviously, we're literally building the next generation with the food that we are putting into our bodies.
Mm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah.
So are you growing your own herbs out there as well?
Yeah, lots. So I have a big greenhouse. We have chickens. I grow tons of herbs, lots of food. It's all in the theme of regenerative agriculture, regenerative farming. That's been a real passion project for the last 5 years of looking at the land and what is it doing and how can we kind of replicate that. Because I mean, again, that's how we take more and more control over our lives. And we have to and not have to outsource these things as much. I mean, like I think people forget how close we were to being locked out of freaking grocery stores. You
Yep.
know, like it was that close. It was like the next thing, I'm pretty sure. And like I've even talked with Brett Hawes about this, but like, they're putting the infrastructure in grocery stores. It's like they put a little bit more up all the time so that you don't complain or question it. You just become familiar with it. But like, the gates to get into here it's Superstore, whatever your grocery store is. And it's like, well, what is that for? You're going to need a QR code soon to get through to get your groceries, And so I think we forget how quick and how easily that can be taken away. And I was listening to an interview the other day with Dakota Cohen, and he was like, you can't bite the hand that feeds. And I was like,
That's right.
that's right. That's exactly right. And so
I can't
bringing
believe it. It actually makes me a little upset the amount of people in this community that are aware of the things that are going on and they have not taken steps to build up like a store of some sort. Like not everyone can move away and start a homestead, obviously,
Mhm.
but like we started grow, everyone can grow like even a little bit of stuff. Everyone can start stockpiling a little bit of food. I don't think people realize, and they've seen it, they should know. There was an emergency in BC. I can't remember what it was at the time. Uh, the road was out, something like that. It took 3 days for the all the gas, all the food to be gone. 3 days. Like people think they have time in an
Yeah,
emergency. I'm like, no, you don't, because people panic.
yeah.
Like it's like I have to put my tinfoil hat on to talk about preparedness. And I'm like, no, no, no. It's like it's adulting. It's like you clean your kitchen and you mow your lawn and you prep in 2024 and you have extra food because that's the world that we're living in right now. And if you can work towards actually producing your food, if like that's a good goal to have right now.
Well, and not only that, like I think what I want people to realize is that this is actually like the direct path to health. Like when you're gardening, you get your hands in the soil, you have your feet on the earth, you're getting those that energy from the earth, you're in the sunshine, you're getting the vitamin D, you're getting those beautiful rays from the sun. It's not even just about the fact that you're growing your own food. And, just to repeat what I said before, the further we have gotten away from food, the further we have gotten away from our own health. So it's like hitting two birds with one stone. It's like you are being resilient and being prepared and, learning these very, very important life skills. But also it lets you um, lets you go around the food system. Like if we can be sourcing our
Yeah.
foods without ever having to go into the grocery store, that is a huge win. Get to know your farmer, and it's actually the regenerative farmers that are going to feed yourself, feed your baby the very nutrients to create strong human beings that aren't having all of these diseases and deficiencies.
There's a
So,
whole generation of us that are unlearning and relearning right now. So I'm in a hunting family. We have a few acres here. We're growing our own food. We hunt, so I eat basically only meat that we've hunted.
mhm.
But growing up, like my mother's generation, and I have a fantastic mother. They didn't know any different. They were lied to and they were just taught about convenience. So it was all about the microwave and like, isn't it neat? We have these microwavable meals, like these prepackaged foods. I remember my mom like feeding me like when I was just a baby in the grocery store to like keep me busy, like hot dogs going through the grocery store and craft dinner and just fast, easy food. And they didn't know, or like they told them not to breastfeed. They said
Yeah.
that breastfeeding was for poor people and formula was better. Formula's corn syrup and chemicals.
And they found all sorts of heavy metals in them, in 100%, even the organic
Yes.
ones. Heavy
Yeah.
metals in baby food. Like, yeah.
I my girls had some formula. The my first one, I had trouble producing enough milk. So at and I tried everything. I was pumping 24/7 and eventually I ended up giving her some formula and then quickly Ashley ended up just transitioning to food. I was like,
Hmm.
if you're hungry, I'm just gonna give you food. And we started her on food really, really soon. But yeah, if I had known even then what I know now, I don't know what I would have done. Maybe I'd buy breast milk from someone. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and this is the thing. I mean, we don't know what we don't know
Yeah.
sometimes. And I think we have to have a lot of forgiveness and compassion for ourselves because we were just doing the best we could with the knowledge that we had at that time. So I don't ever want to impart any kind of feelings of shame on people or, I'm on the same timeline, just a little bit further down than some people.
Yeah.
And I made my fair share of mistakes and things that I feel a little bit remorseful of, and that I would have done differently had I known what I know now, you know?
Mhm.
So definitely room for compassion and grace, and just also yeah, like I was a child of the 80s or early 80s, so I grew up on all of the convenience food and all of the microwave stuff. And my mom is amazing, and she just was doing the best thing that she knew how to do as a single mom. Um, and unfortunately, for our human bodies that require certain raw materials to thrive, like the deficiencies of that time are showing up in our bodies as mothers and in our
Mhm.
babies' bodies. And
Don't
that's
you
where
love that? Like the, oh, well, I did it and I'm totally fine. I'm like, no, you're not. You guys
yeah,
have diabetes, you have
yeah,
cancer, you have GI issues, you have arthritis.
yeah,
Like the amount of people like my mother's age around, they say, "Oh, but we're fine." I'm like, "No, you're not."
yeah, yeah. I know. And like not every woman I know, but like so many women are just having a real difficult transition from like perimenopause to menopause. It's like that's not normal. That is not normal. Like it's actually something that we've normalized, but it's not normal to
Yeah.
go through a hell ride from in your 40s and 50s, the way that women are, and having hysterectomies and like, even their monthly cycles are just incredibly painful, and that's not normal.
That is interesting. There is the assumption that when you get old, you get sick.
Hmm.
And we see that with other cultures that that's actually not the case.
Well, and look around, even like, do you see wolves that are going into like wolf um like healthcare homes at the end of the last 10 years of their lives? Like they are vigorous and vibrant
Hunting.
right till the end of their lives. What am I
Mhm.
talking thinking about? Like old folks home. There's no wolf
Yeah.
old folk home. They are like a
Yep.
part of the pack, and they are, sure they have a different role. But
Mhm.
they're a part of the pack until the day that they die.
Yep.
And that's normal. That is the way that it should be. But we've normalized disease, and it's scary. It's scary.
Mm,
But we have a lot of power, and we have a choice. And we can change the trajectory of that at any moment, literally with every meal that we eat. That's how
mhm.
much power we have.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What kind of things are you treating with herbs when you're working with clients?
It's not even so much what am I treating, it's especially with like if we're talking about pregnancy, it's more so what are the nutritive herbs that women can take to fill in the gaps, to fill in the breaks, instead of taking a prenatal vitamin, which we now know are most of them have folic acid in them, which is a problem. We've all been told as pregnant mothers we need to have folic acid. Well, that
Mm,
has been debunked. That is causing all sorts of problems. So the thing with, say, a herbal infusion, which will put like nettle, alfalfa, um, that's all I can think of at the moment. But like, making a strong infusion, you're actually getting a full spectrum of minerals and vitamins and information that comes in the form that the body is designed to take it in.
mm,
And this is one of my biggest beefs with like the prenatal vitamin, is that like women think that they can just pop a prenatal vitamin and then they're off the hook, and they can continue eating the processed foods and
mm,
doing all these things because they're covered. And it's like, no, wrong. Actually, that is not the truth. And so things like the herbal medicine, the herbal nutritive, the red raspberry, all of the stuff that has been used for millennia, those
yeah.
are things that women were feasting themselves on because they
Yep.
filled in the blanks where the traditional food maybe missed out a little bit, or because you're pregnant, you need significant more nutrition.
Hmm.
And so instead of having just a glass of water, maybe you could upgrade that water to have a herbal infusion that's full of a beautiful spectrum of minerals and information in the form that your body actually knows synthesize and use it and assimilate it.
Yeah.
And it's more those kinds of things, and then
People don't
herbal.
know that about vitamins, that a lot of the vitamins are taking, especially just like over the counter stuff. it doesn't work like that. Like the body doesn't, it doesn't process most of them. You're just peeing them out. It's not actually doing anything for you. Iron, for example, I've been anemic for a while and trying to address that through food. Uh, the supplements don't do anything other
Yeah.
than cause me grief. Because it's one
Yeah.
of those things, it's not just a simple manner of you need this vitamin, you're deficient in it, I'll take this vitamin, and then problem solved. There might be other issues and other reasons for why you are low in that nutrient. And you need to get it from food sources and lifestyle. And yeah,
Yeah. I mean, allopathic medicine is wonderful for certain things, like if you're in an accident, or, there are certain situations, but in terms of like keeping our health and maintaining our health, it just doesn't have a hot clue of what is involved. And like, an isolated vitamin is not the way we were designed to take in that information. And
yeah,
so, you like you say, you just end up peeing it out. You end up peeing out this really expensive, these
yeah,
expensive vitamins because your body's like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what to
yeah,
do with that, you
yeah.
know?
So tell me about the dangers or the risks of taking herbal medicines, of taking herbs.
Well, I mean, are we talking about in pregnancy or just in general?
I mean, allopathic medicine will write you a script for things, no problem. But they'll say, oh, you picked chaga and you drank it. Is that safe? How do we know? Like, I can't write off that that's safe. So there's this assumption in allopathic medicine that these herbs are really dangerous, especially in pregnancy, right? Like I was told, like, no, you can't have anything, no, no lavender, none of this, but you could have this antibiotic, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, you can have fentanyl during labor, no
Yeah.
problem, but heaven forbid you
Are
have red raspberry leaf tea.
no. Are there some that you want to use like with caution? Is this just a false assumption about herbs that they're dangerous? Because they are powerful. They do work for the body. And obviously not every herb will be appropriate for every single kind of person. But have you seen in your practice um, a lot of negative side effects, a lot of people getting themselves into hot water from using herbs?
No, I mean, I feel like the whole idea that herbs are dangerous comes back to like the Snow White story, and like there's the witch in the woods with the apple, and like nature is dangerous and it's going to poison you. And the reality is that the vast majority of herbs are very safe. And the ones that do have, that you do need to be more cautious with, you would have to usually consume quite a bit of them to have
Mhm.
some of the effects that they talk about. And that's allopathic medicine smearing,
Mhm.
natural medicine, which is what they're wonderful at doing because they don't want people taking charge of their own health. Of course, there's a time and a place where you don't want to use them. Like I don't actually even recommend that women um, use a lot of herbs even in the first trimester of pregnancy because we have to worry about things like adulteration, where say something comes in from China claiming to be this, but it's actually this. And that can
Right.
cause birth defects or stuff like that. That's why we do have some regulations which are warranted, and those are good.
Mhm.
Um, but like what's happened with like this smearing that like for your safety, herbal medicine needs to be um, regulated and restricted in what they're trying to do now is absolutely absurd. It is so over the top,
Yeah.
insane that and I mean people that like herbal medicine really it's customizable. It's more in line with people's like philosophical lifestyles now. You can curate it and customize it the way you see fit and the way that you want to. This is being in partnership, not only with nature, but with your own body and like seeing how that reacts in your body. And it's you taking the reins as a person who's wanting to take health into your own hands. And
Mm.
that's why it's dangerous, mostly, first and
Mhm.
foremost. And it's not
Mhm.
dangerous to us, it's dangerous to the systems that threaten their billion-dollar industry,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, let's talk about that. The video that I found of you, you were talking about some people in your industry who had received a cease and desist order from Health Canada. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so this would have been last year sometime. I don't even remember the timeline, but I think actually probably November of last year. Um, a friend, an herbalist friend on IG, I saw that she had received a cease and desist order, and she put up this beautiful post about how we're not going to just fall away, and like it was so well written, but it hit me in the gut where I was like, oh shit, like this is happening because the year prior, they had snuck the Liberals have snuck Bill C-47 in on a budget bill right before the summer break so that it couldn't be disputed, and they were just like, this is what we're doing with herbs and
Yeah.
supplements. And
And what does Bill C-47 say? What is it trying to accomplish?
Um, in a nutshell, it's going to make it very difficult for businesses to operate, like supplement businesses to operate in Canada. There's cost recovery. There is oh gosh, I'm going to fudge it up, but it's all on the NHPPA website. It goes
Mhm.
in depth. That's Sean Buckley's organization, and they make it so easy to send letters to your MPs and do all of these things. But basically, they're going to make it really, really hard for people like me or small business owners to have any kind of herbal business because you have to adhere to certain standards. And if you
Yeah.
don't adhere to those standards, they're going to charge you $5 million a day. So that is designed to
Whoa.
decimate the little guy. And
Yeah, the restrictions, the labeling, and then also they wanted to put some costs onto the manufacturers as well,
yeah,
which would just make it, and this is what people don't understand. They're not blocking the border from the supplements coming into Canada. They're making it so that as a business, you would never sell these things to Canada because you would never make any money or you adhere to all the regulations and all the extra costs.
yeah,
So they'll just stop selling to Canada. They'll sell to all the other countries. There's
yeah,
already a ton of stuff that I try and buy that I can't get into Canada. But
yeah,
this is so sneaky. I was pulling this up with you. If you just pull up Bill C-47,
yeah.
it says Bill C-47, the government is continuing to help make life more affordable for Canadians. And this is a bill that has a suite of measures to help make life more affordable. So, this is a budget bill. And if you weren't a crazy person like me that digs into bills and reads these painfully boring things page by page, or the work that the NHPPA is doing, you would never find this because they buried it in a
Mhm.
budget bill.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
sinister.
It is. It's malicious in its intent. And yeah, it will completely stifle any kind of innovation happening in Canada. It's going to raise the cost of our supplements. It's going to cause herbs and supplements to be pulled from our shelves because it's going to cost too much to even get them into the country. And not only that, within Bill C-47, it also wants to control the language around herbs and what we can say around what the actions of certain herbs are and what they can do. And so, anyway,
It's
within,
already limited. Like already on a supplement, it'll say, and for metabolizes vitamin. Like it already is pretty erroneous. Like whenever I go and take something, I usually have to go and look it up on the internet already. Like we don't need more measures. It's already doing that.
yeah, well, and so these Health Canada um, workers that are enforcing this bill on small, and I'm talking like small and micro-sized businesses, like moms who are, you know, serving their community and like selling some of their stuff on Etsy or through Instagram. They are the ones that I know, and some are a little bit bigger, but a lot of them are like very, very small, and they're coming after these people and saying that like you have to take all the stuff down off of your social media that makes any claims around what certain herbs do. You have to remove all of the things around on your website. And so this is where it gets really dangerous. I mean, it's dangerous to begin with, but like now we can't even speak freely about what herbs can do. Like this is treading into really dangerous territory.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they are promoting products and saying that they do certain things that are
Oh
safe and
yeah.
effective, and they're not being truthful about those things. I have
Yeah.
so many friends that are nurses or doctors or work for the health unit here, and I hate to feel this about not them as individuals, but like the health unit. Like when I get an email saying like the health unit is going to be in the school, like the amount of terror and anger I feel that I'm like, you stay away from my kids. Do not talk to my kids. Do not touch my kids. You do not represent health. You
Yeah.
are sinister. You are lying. You do not know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And even just like on a surface level, when I the the majority of those people are not healthy themselves.
No, not at all. I mean, like, look at there's that meme that was going around, like the health ministers, and they were like,
Yes.
they did not look like healthy people for various reasons.
No, those are not the arbiters of truth and certainly not of health. My daughter was going to get suspended from school for not getting anything they wanted her to get meningococcal. And they're like, oh, you can just sign this exemption form that says if anybody else gets sick, you are personally legally liable for getting sued. I'm like, I'm not signing that. It
Yeah.
says that you're intentionally putting your kid at risk and everybody else. And I'm like, I'm not signing that. And I called the health unit and I asked, and I recorded this, I asked if they were still recommending the I'll say you know what because I don't want to get censored, the you know what for children. And they said, oh yes, the children should definitely get this and stops transmission. And I'm like, that's a lie. That's a
Yeah.
lie. So you're still lying about that thing, and then you say I can trust you for this other thing? Like, not a chance. And now you're telling me what supplement is safe or not? Like, get bent.
Well, it's this whole infantilization of the public. Like this is the same playbook that I saw with women when they were birthing their babies, and even the way that they were coddled and spoken to by nurses and doctors, like talking to women like they were children. And
Mm.
that is like when I say that experience gave me the eyes to see, it's the same thing. Like it's for your safety, like everything's fine. And this is, we're protecting you. And it's just like, gross. No, it's like
Yeah.
I am an adult human woman, and I
Hmm.
can make, I can be discerning. I can make competent decisions for myself.
Hmm.
Full stop. And it's, it's just a grab for power as always,
Why would they do this? Why would they be putting cease and desist orders on herbalists and people in this industry?
I mean, there's a lot probably in that answer, but they want total control. They don't want people having access to the things where they can, let's just say, self-heal or take control of their own health. They want a monopoly on all of the business. They want, Brett talked about this again too, but just like how all of these big, larger companies are buying up all the little supplement companies and all of the little herbal businesses. And they're just
Mhm.
all being bought up by the same companies so that if push comes to shove, they can do whatever they want, you know?
Mm.
And
They're certainly not working with you because working with you, uh, maybe they'd help, I don't know, provide some tests and be like, oh yes, like ashwagandha does work for this certain cause, but they're not doing that. They're saying that you can't talk about any of these herbs or mention any like they're definitely not working with you. They're making it so no one can get them at all.
yeah, Sean Buckley wrote a great paper that really breaks down the ins and outs of Bill C-47. And it's specifically sections 500 to 504, I believe, if anyone wanted to look that up, but it's all on their website. And this is the problem. Like like the average person like me who knows none of the nomenclature about like bills and policies and stuff like that, I'm gonna go in there and try and read that, and I'm lost instantly. Like the words make no sense. And so that's part of how they are able to push these agendas, is that we just don't know. But thank goodness for people like Sean Buckley and that organization, where they're like, this is what's happening, this is what it means in layman's terms, where you can really go and get educated about it. And that's what people need to do, is understand what is happening, you
Mm-hmm.
know and get on the horn with your MPs, and start really
Mm-hmm.
creating awareness around it. And thankfully, um, Bill C-368, which was put forth by Conservative MP Blaine Calkins, it passed the second reading, which apparently is historic and very, very difficult to happen. It's highly unlikely that it would happen, but it did, because there was a lot of pushback from us, and people calling their MPs and doing the grassroots work and stuff like that. So all is not lost, but it'll be a long road to get the bill to fully pass.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I'll have to follow up with their organization because I did see that some things were passing that don't favor this movement right now. I'll have to chat with them and see what the update is.
Yeah.
And this frustrates me as someone that's very much that is very active in all of these things. I get it, it's exhausting. It's exhausting paying attention. It's boring reading these bills. And a lot of people in this community are saying that none of this matters. There's this very nihilistic train of thinking right now. None of it matters. Politics don't matter. Calling your MPP doesn't matter. And personally, I think nihilism gets us absolutely nowhere. It's it's guaranteed failure. Now, I do believe the system is corrupt. I do believe a lot of these things are sinister. I don't think any politician is sweeping in to save us, but the only thing, like I see no other action step but to be so involved. You have to. So, like I did a recent podcast about the pandemic bill. I called everybody after it, and I brought every single Canadian senator, my MP, my MPP. I wrote the Métis organization. I wrote people that I know in big agriculture and huge industries. Like that's what democracy is, being involved. And I think the system's corrupt because people won't do that work, which makes a lot of people very angry when I say this. And like it's true. It's true. Are there still going to be big, scary people up top still doing corrupt and evil things, whether you participate in it or not? Yes. But also, it's getting worse and more corrupt because people are nihilistic and not participating.
You're amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
You're totally amazing. Yeah, and we've been asleep at the wheel for too long, and we do need people to stand up and find their courage, and
Yeah.
make a difference in whatever way, in whatever capacity you can.
Yeah.
Um, it's really important. And also, at the same time, where can you stop outsourcing things, and where can you take more control over your own life?
Mm.
Like, I think it's
Mhm.
both.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and creating a new path forward in the same breath.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, getting knowledgeable about food and about herbs so that you don't have to go and interface with the matrix and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Freedom isn't free.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing that I am. Yes, I'm writing the politicians and staying active in this realm, but I'm growing food and we have guns and we have and we go hunting and we have our own land. Like it's both and it's freedom isn't free. It's a whole lot of work. It's
Hmm.
costly. It takes a lot of time. It takes money. Um, yeah, it's not either or.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and I would just say to anyone that's watching this and wants to speak up and doesn't know how, or maybe they feel unqualified. It's like, let me tell you, I feel when I decided to stand up and start speaking about Bill C-47, I felt like the biggest freaking imposter. And, we did this call. I was a part of a roundtable call with the NHPPA, and it was full of practitioners and herbalists and people that were exponentially more qualified than me.
Mm.
And then, I had to just have a talk with myself and say, like, I have literally thousands and thousands of hours in the forest, in my garden, in the field, working with the plants. And this isn't even about anybody's ego. This is about doing what is right and what the truth is.
Yeah.
And when I first saw this friend of mine that got the cease and desist order, I got this hit in my nervous system, and I made a post about it, a reel on Instagram about it. And actually, Susan Stanfield saw it, and she wasn't following me at the time, but it got shared quite a bit. And she came into my inbox and became like a real expander for me, and like a
Mm.
mentor, in the sense of just kind of showing me the ropes about certain things, and giving me this confidence, like I
Yeah.
could do it, and she made me realize that it's not fighting, it's actually just restoring justice. And that was like a real, just something shifted there for me, where it's like,
Mm.
fighting just seems like it's just draining all of my energy. But
Head
like
against the wall.
restoring that
Mm.
balance and like bringing justice to things, like that's a flavor I can get behind. And like that's
Yeah.
something that, like, yeah, that's a movement that makes a lot more sense for whatever reason. Like, words matter, as we know.
Yeah.
But seeing like that air of like, this is justice, and that's all it is you're just helping bringing the scales back into balance.
That's right. And you don't have to do all of the things, all of the
No,
problems, all of the areas. Like you can pick
no.
your lane. I should actually share this story because I haven't yet. I have a friend out in Red Deer who's an herbalist, and she said that her, I believe it was brother, constantly writes Daniel Smith
Mhm.
and doesn't hear things back. But in her latest speech, she said verbatim the things that he wrote in that letter.
Interesting.
Like it was so clear that like those were his very specific words from his industry. And people think that their actions don't matter, and I'm like, they're still good people in
Hmm.
politics. And it's important that what's more important than the information is knowing how to talk about it. And that's honestly just being nice. These are also human beings. Like, don't come in hot, like angry and yelling. Like, these are also human beings. Um, I had mentioned in my Instagram stories that I was sending this one podcast to senators, and the person was overthinking and stressing, and they're like, "Well, how? I don't even know what to write. Can you give me a template?" And I screenshotted my email just so that you could see how simple it was. I
Hmm.
was like, "Hey, Eric, Eric, I'm really concerned about this bill. Like, here's the podcast. Here's what we're going through. You cannot let this happen in Kenora. It's not a 10-page legal sounding document. It's not an essay. Um, it was polite. It was articulate, but it wasn't long or complicated. Like people are overthinking, like, what would I say? You say that you're in their writing and you're scared about this, and here's why. And you
Hmm.
want them to address this.
Yeah, and you never know how far the ripple effects of that is going to go. Like, my MP is Raquel Dancho, and she's awesome. And
Mhm.
I had a call with her, and actually, her office got back to me and let me know that she had taken it to the shadow minister of health, like all the way up to the federal level. And so I was like, that's a huge win. Like, just
It is.
letting more people know about it. And that's just from a phone call.
Yep,
And more people that are phoning and creating momentum and, awareness around what is happening really does help. It
yep,
really does. Yeah.
100%. Honestly, of course, politics matters because why are different provinces different?
Yeah.
Why are different, why in the States? Why is Florida doing so much better than California? And California is just this dump right now.
Mm-hmm.
politics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what would happen to your business, should this all continue to go through? What would you do? What would be your next steps?
Um, my next steps, I guess I would know what those next steps are when that comes. This is a thing. It's like I try not to look too far down the tracks and just make the
Yeah.
next right move. But I'm I'm not overly concerned. I know that herbal medicine is going to find a way. It will find a way. It always finds a way. I mean, this is nothing new, actually. Like herbal medicine, I mean, this is what they were burning people for in Europe, um, you know, a couple hundred years ago or whatever it was. But um, we'll find a way. I don't actually know the answer to that. But I do know that I won't stop speaking the truth, and I won't stop sharing about my lifestyle and what I'm doing and what brings health to me and my family. Maybe that resonates with some people, maybe not, to each his own. But as an entrepreneur, I mean, that's the lifeblood of what we do, is that we find a way, and if there's a roadblock, well, we'll find another path somehow.
Yeah.
And so again, it's doing both. It's like, being aware of what is happening and what they're trying to govern and control in a malefic way. And at the same time, it's like, I'm just going to keep going and doing what I know to be true.
Yeah.
And but people have to know that, like, this is going to affect, like, farmers markets, and like granny that's making her like herbal oil, she won't be able to do that anymore, because
Hmm.
that's a danger to human health. Again, it's
Yeah.
this infantilization. Like, I'm a consenting adult, and if I want to buy granny's herbal oil from the farmers market, I shouldn't need Health Canada telling me whether or not it's safe. Like,
No, especially meanwhile, while they're pushing dangerous pharmaceuticals,
yeah,
while they are giving people fentanyl, while they are flooding our streets
yeah,
with God knows what, some really horrendous recreational drugs.
yeah,
Oh, but you can't have nettle tea.
yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a joke. It's almost comical. Like, if you look at it,
Yes.
it's like, wow, here's your safe injection site, and here's your
Yeah.
your heroin and the tools to do it. But let's keep people safe and keep the nettle away from people.
Yeah.
Like, clown show.
Unbelievable.
Mhm.
Well, my friend, I hope things continue on the way that they have been for you, and that this isn't a problem for you. If people want to work with you, if they want to find you, well, the getting's good. Where can they go?
My website is alisonritchie.com. My Instagram is this grand voyage, this underscore grand underscore voyage underscore. Yeah, you can find all of the different things like
Been underground, now I aim for the skies. Don't quit now, you can last longer. All these wounds only making you stronger.